Hello everybody, my name is Carlon3639. Welcome back to another video. Today in this one we'll be doing another card analysis video, and in this one we'll be covering the Mystic Mine debate. Should it be banned? Should it be limited? Or should it stay at 3? And in this video we'll be going over some of the arguments for those as well. And then at the end of the video I'll be giving my opinion on Mystic Mine as well. So without further ado though, let's get straight into the video. Before we can cover the arguments for Mystic Mine, we must cover the effect of Mystic Mine first. So it is a field spell card that reads the following. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, your opponent cannot activate monster effects or declare an attack. If you control more monsters than your opponent does, you cannot activate monster effects or declare an attack. And then once per turn during the end phase, if both players control the same number of monsters, destroy this card. Very, very powerful effect. So basically whoever controls more monsters than the other player, that player cannot activate or declare an attack with monsters. So yeah, that's what the effect does. Now let's get into the argument for Mystic Mine. So here are the arguments on why Mystic Mine should not be banned and stay at 3. So the first one is it helps break combo board. So basically, if your opponent sets up this crazy, insane board that, even hand traps could not stop, Mystic Mine kind of helps that out. If you go like Mystic Mine and then they can't stop that Mystic Mine, all of a sudden that combo board becomes absolutely worthless because, well, Mine is just shutting down everything anyways. So very, very good for that reason, going as a going second option. And then, since they're locked, you can start playing your board, start breaking their board chip by chip, and then hopefully out your Mystic Mine throughout your plays as well. And then number 2, it punishes people that focus on overextending than having out 2 cards. So if a combo player decides, oh, I want to play more combo cards, so I have more consistency and stuff like that, instead of playing cards like Twin Twist or Cosmic Cyclone, cards that have out to Mystic Mines, then that's really their problem for not solving for that. Mystic Mine just Mystic Mine is a very easy card to out. Any spell trap removal will do it. Anything that isn't a monster effect that outs Mystic Mine will, in fact, do it. But since a lot of the combo decks do not main deck those cards, just having that Mystic Mine, just activating it game 1 and then just basically telling your opponent, you better have the out, it just punishes the people that don't actually play an out to Mystic Mine in their main deck, and they shouldn't be complaining about it. They should just put in cards in the main deck that actually do out the Mystic Mine. That is a very good argument to keep Mystic Mine, because again, it is a very good or easy card to out because of MST, Twin Twister. There's so many cards that do out Mystic Mine, but since a lot of the combo heavy players do not play those in their main deck, Mystic Mine just becomes this card where it's just rarely punishing to that. And some of these players argue if you do main deck those outs to Mystic Mine, then Mystic Mine wouldn't be that much of a problem. So those are the arguments for Mystic Mine. Now let's get into the arguments on why Mystic Mine should be banned. Here are the arguments on why Mystic Mine should be banned. So the first one here we have is it just pauses the game. Once Mystic Mine hits the field, the player that usually plays it doesn't really want to do anything else because they really just want the Mystic Mine to stay and make sure their opponent does not play the game. So it gets to this game state where neither player is doing anything. The player that activated Mystic Mine doesn't want to do anything because they want Mystic Mine to still be live, and the opponent that's playing against the Mystic Mine player can't do anything because they're under Mystic Mine, so there's really nothing else they can do. So it just gets to this point where the players playing are just passing back and forth, and there's really no advancement in game state and just wasting time and stuff like that. So it just gets to this game state where it's just like nothing is really happening until someone either finds the out to Mystic Mine or a deck out happens or an alternate win condition, something like Burnout or, Exodia is technically a thing as well, happens. So that is something you do have to consider with this card. Number 2 is the player that plays it has the advantage at all times. Because since they resolved Mystic Mine, they have a couple options of going. They can either sit on it if their opponent has like less cards in their deck. They can go for a deck out strategy. If they have burn cards, they can go for a burnout strategy. or they can just, you know, draw cards until they eventually finally out to the player's board, where they finally out the player's board and then out their own Mystic Mine and then start playing their own game without having to play against any interruption. So yeah, it gives the player who plays the Mystic Mine the advantage at all times. And then the third one is players create decks that evolve around Mystic Mine, because that's just how powerful Mystic Mine is. Since Mystic Mine is at 3, there's a lot of decks that want to play it at 3. Like a lot of people do know the burn deck, where you just activate Mystic Mine, then activate a shit ton of burn cards to burn your opponent, and your opponent can't really do anything about it because Mystic Mine is on the field. There's also something like Sky Striker that takes that huge advantage of it, since they only need to be really having one monster on their field at all times. If your opponent controls 2 or more monsters, they activate a Mystic Mine, and they still do their Striker plays anyways, because again, as long as you're not the one with the more monsters on the field, you can still activate monsters effects and stuff like that, and Sky Striker being able to have their spell cards and set and stuff like that, just being able to play while their opponent cannot play. So it just creates... Mystic Mine is just a deck that can people can evolve around, make sure they can get to Mystic Mine with something like Card Demise or something like Metaverse and stuff like that. We can see this as the most recently as Hartford YCS, or even the National YCS, where there was a Sky Striker player who was main decking Mystic Mine plus Card Demise plus D Barrier, because that's just how powerful those cards were, especially Mystic Mine deciding a lot of the games, and Striker just not caring about Mystic Mine because they only really need one monster. So if the opponent has more than one monster, then they can just play their game anyway. So it creates this fact where Mystic Mine is just so powerful, it creates its own deck that it has to be worth playing. So yeah, those are the arguments on why Mystic Mine should be banned. Now let's get into my opinion on Mystic Mine. So my opinion on Mystic Mine is this. I think it should be banned. I feel like it's a very, very powerful card that just determines games. I feel like it's a bannable card, even if you are not main decking the MSTs and stuff like that and getting punished. I feel like even with that, game 2, game 3, even if they do, you can always just use a Mystic Mine to out one of your opponent's Omni Negates and still get to play your cards and not have to deal with that Omni Negate anymore. But I would be happy with it being limited. I wouldn't be the happiest person in the world. I feel like it being banned, I would be the happiest person in the world. But limiting it would create where you can't really play a deck that revolves around Mystic Mine, because Mystic Mine is now at 1, and because Terraforming and Metaverse are also at 1, a full Mystic Mine deck would just not be viable, because it would be very hard to find the Mystic Mine. But I feel like even with the limit, it would still see somewhat play, just because of just how powerful it is. Like Sky Striker would still play it at 1 because they're already playing Terraforming to search out their Area 0, so having the Terraforming to search out Mystic Mine as well would be very, very powerful. But a limit, just a hit to this card on the next ban list would be very, very nice, in my opinion. I feel like it should be banned, but I think I would be happy with it being limited as well. So yeah, that was just a quick little video on going over some of the arguments for Mystic Mine being banned and being unbanned. I didn't really go over why it should be limited, but you know, it being limited just creates it where you don't see it as much as you do right now. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content on the channel, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.